In 2024, 1,671 people were killed on British roads. 28,804 were seriously injured. That works out to roughly one person killed or seriously injured every 16 minutes. And the places where these numbers concentrate are not random. They cluster on specific stretches of tarmac, where the crash data, the coroner's reports, and the testimonies of people who drive them daily all tell the same story. These are 15 roads across England, Scotland, and Wales where something has gone seriously and persistently wrong. Hey, before we get into it, if you love looking back at the good old days of Britain, go check out my mate Albert over at Albert's Old Britain. Trust me, he's bringing back memories you didn't even know you had. Let us begin with the road that has topped Britain's danger list more times than any other. The A537 runs for 10 miles through the Peak District National Park, linking Macclesfield in Cheshire to Buxton in Derbyshire. It climbs to 515 metres at the summit, where the Cat and Fiddle Inn has stood since the early 18th century. On a clear day, the views stretch across the Cheshire Plain all the way to Manchester. It is one of the most beautiful drives in England. It is also one of the deadliest. The European Road Assessment Programme ranked the Cat and Fiddle Road as the most dangerous in Britain in 8 of 12 annual reports between 2002 and 2013. Department for Transport data recorded 35 serious or fatal crashes on its central 7-mile stretch between 2002 and 2006. That number rose to 44 between 2007 and 2011. Nearly 3/4 of those crashes involved motorcyclists. When motorcycle collisions were removed from the data, the road became one of the safest in the country. The Cheshire Safer Roads Partnership spent over £500,000 trying to change this. They cut the speed limit to 50 miles per hour, relaid the surface, installed average speed cameras, and fitted motorcycle-friendly crash barriers along the worst bends. And yet, the riders still come. The sweeping elevation changes and blind curves through open moorland are precisely what draws them. For motorcyclists, the Cat and Fiddle is not a road to avoid. It is a road to conquer. The more dangerous its reputation becomes, the more it attracts the very people most likely to die on it. YouTube videos of riders filming their runs with helmet cameras rack up hundreds of thousands of views. Online forums rank the Cat and Fiddle alongside Alpine passes and Spanish mountain roads. Riders travel from across Europe specifically to test themselves against it. Every sunny weekend, bikes line the car park at the summit. The sound of engines echoes off the moorland, and somewhere below, the air ambulance crew at the East Midlands base already know they are likely to be called out before the day ends. Just miles away, still within the Peak District, the A5012 from Pikehall to Matlock tells the same story in a different voice. 25 fatal and serious crashes between 2007 and 2011. 76% involving motorcycles. A narrow, tree-lined stretch bordered by obstacles that punish anyone who misjudges the camber of the next curve. This is not one dangerous road. This is a dangerous region. 5 of the 10 most lethal roads in the country sit within a single national park. And what makes the Peak District particularly lethal is the combination of visitor volume and road design. Over 13 million people visit the national park each year. Many of them are driving roads they have never seen before, in conditions they did not expect. The park sits between Manchester, Sheffield, Derby, and Stoke-on-Trent, 4 cities within easy reach. On any given weekend, thousands of drivers funnel onto roads that were originally bridleways and packhorse trails. The surface may be modern, the geometry is medieval. Blind crests follow tight corners. Verges drop into ditches without warning. Stone walls line both sides, leaving no room for error and nowhere to go when error arrives. Emergency response times in the park are longer than urban averages, meaning that a survivable crash in Sheffield becomes a fatal one 20 miles east on the moor. The Peak District is not just a collection of dangerous roads. It is a system that produces danger, reliably, predictably, and with a regularity that should embarrass every agency responsible for it. Heading south to the South Downs, the A285 from Chichester to Petworth in West Sussex proves the pattern is national. Another road through another national park, another landscape of gentle beauty concealing genuine danger. Between 2003 and 2008, 38 crashes were recorded on this stretch. Between 2010 and 2012, 21 were fatal or serious, a 16% rise. The road twists through tight bends and blind junctions that catch unfamiliar drivers at the worst possible moment. Safety measures have been applied. The numbers have not shifted. In Lancashire, the A675 between Bolton and Blackburn stretches just 7 kilometres, a single-lane carriageway through valley terrain where rain, fog and winter ice settle and refuse to lift. It remains one of the most dangerous short stretches of road in the country. Locals know every bend by the accident that happened there. The memorials are not official. They are bunches of flowers tied to fence posts that appear, wilt and get replaced by new ones. The A54 from Congleton to Buxton extends the Peak District danger zone for another 24 kilometres, a scenic single-lane carriageway that becomes treacherous for anyone unfamiliar with the area. It forms part of the same network as the Cat and Fiddle. The danger does not respect road designations. It flows across them. All 5 of these roads share one common feature. They are beautiful. That is precisely the problem. People drive them for pleasure. They take them because the scenery rewards the journey. And the scenery distracts from the bend that tightens without warning, the wet surface that offers no grip when grip is the only thing between driving and dying. Now we head north and west, into terrain where the road itself becomes something you must survive. Hardknott Pass in Cumbria sits in the Duddon Valley at 400 metres above sea level. It is said to be the steepest road in England. The gradient reaches 1 in 3, 33%. The Romans built a fort at the summit and stationed 500 soldiers from the Dalmatian coast to guard it. Even they found the terrain punishing. In the 1880s, a group of local hoteliers paid to improve the road, hoping to encourage tourists. By 1891, the scheme was quietly judged a failure. During the Second World War, the area was used for tank training, and the vehicles destroyed whatever road surface remained. What exists today is a series of hairpin bends with poor visibility and a surface that turns to glass when wet. Satellite navigation systems regularly direct tourists onto this road without any warning of what awaits them. Families in hire cars meet single-track gradients their vehicles cannot handle. Recovery trucks know the passing places by heart. There have been calls for tourists to avoid the road entirely. Rhinos Pass sits immediately beside Hardknott, and the two are often driven back to back. Rhinos reaches 398 metres with gradients of 1 in 4. In winter, fog, snow and low cloud appear suddenly, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Black ice forms in shaded sections even on clear days, catching drivers who assumed the danger had passed with the weather. Together, Hardknott and Rhinos form a continuous 17-mile gauntlet through the Western Lake District. Drivers who complete one often feel committed to the other, even when fatigue, nerves or fading daylight should tell them to turn back. Breakdown services report that clutch failures and overheated brakes are the most common call-outs on both passes. Vehicles roll backwards on the steepest sections when drivers stall. Others scrape along dry stone walls because the road offers no margin on either side. In summer, the narrow passing places become gridlocked when vehicles meet head-on, and neither driver knows how to reverse on a gradient. What should be a 40-minute drive becomes a 2-hour ordeal, and the longer drivers spend on these roads, the more likely fatigue turns a manageable risk into a serious one. Crossing to Scotland, the Bealach na Ba on the Applecross Peninsula is the closest thing Britain has to an alpine pass. Single track, hairpin bends, cattle grids, sheer drops with no guardrails along many sections. The road was built in 1822 and has barely been widened since. Warning signs at the base advise inexperienced drivers to take the longer route around the coast. Residents of Applecross have no such luxury. They drive this road in all weathers because it is the only way home. Those 8 roads are dangerous because of where they are. The terrain, the weather, the gradients, forces that were there long before the tarmac was laid. Now we must talk about roads where the danger was not put there by nature. It was put there by decisions, by policy, by the refusal of people in offices to act on what people on the road already knew. The A9 runs 112 miles from Perth to Inverness. It is Scotland's longest road, and it carries a nickname no road should ever earn: the killer A9. The problem is structural. The carriageway switches between dual and single repeatedly across its full length. Drivers build speed on the wide sections, then meet oncoming traffic on the narrow ones with no central reservation. Overtaking becomes a gamble. Impatient drivers pull out behind lorries and caravans and meet vehicles coming the other way head-on. Since 1979, 335 people have been killed on the Perth to Inverness stretch, an average of nearly 8 deaths a year for over 4 decades. In one recent 5-year window, a serious accident occurred every 10 days, 23 lives lost, roughly 1 death every 11 weeks. There are several hundred deer strikes annually on top of that. Around 200 were recorded in 2013 alone. The Scottish Government committed in 2011 to dual the remaining 77 miles. The cost was estimated at £3 billion. It would be the largest transport project in Scotland's history. In 2023, the government admitted the work would not be complete by the promised date. It has been delayed by a decade. The road keeps killing. The promise keeps sliding further into the future. The frustration along the A9 corridor is not abstract. It is personal. Communities in Aviemore, Dalwhinnie, and Kingussie have watched their neighbours buried, while politicians in Edinburgh debate timelines and budgets. Roadside memorials mark specific bends where head-on collisions occurred. Local newspapers carry the names. Local pubs carry the silence that follows. Haulage drivers who use the road daily describe a constant calculation: when to overtake, when to wait, when to accept that the caravan ahead will add 40 minutes to the journey because pulling out could end everything. Tourist season is the worst. Campervans and hire cars driven by visitors unfamiliar with single carriageway overtaking fill the road from May through September. Frustration builds behind slow vehicles. Someone eventually takes the risk. Sometimes they clear the lorry. Sometimes the road takes another name. The A1 runs from London to Edinburgh. Around 40,000 vehicles travel it daily at various points. In 2022, 500 accidents were recorded along its length, most closing the road for hours. More than 50% of regular users report having witnessed or been involved in a collision. Near Haddington in East Lothian, a 7-mile stretch saw 17 fatal or serious crashes between 2017 and 2019. Nearly 3/4 involved pedestrians or cyclists. The A1 is a patchwork of standards. Dual sections give way to single without logic. Speed limits shift. Conditions vary wildly across 400 miles. The A6 from Bedfordshire to Cumbria holds the grim distinction of the highest fatality rate per mile of any road in the United Kingdom. Along its full length, nearly 12,000 vehicles were involved in over 8,000 incidents, resulting in 152 deaths. This was Britain's original north-south route before the motorways. It still serves communities the motorway network bypassed and forgot. It is neither scenic enough for tourists nor important enough for investment. It simply kills, quietly, year after year. Nobody campaigns for it because nobody famous drives it. The roads we have discussed so far are old. Some are ancient. They were built for horses, or for Romans, or for nothing at all. What follows is different. These are modern roads, engineered by government agencies with billion-pound budgets. The danger on these roads was designed in. Smart motorways removed the hard shoulder to create an extra lane of traffic. The theory was that technology would replace tarmac. Electronic signs would detect stopped vehicles and close lanes automatically. Emergency refuge areas, spaced at intervals, would offer safety. The reality has been measured in bodies. On the 7th of June 2019, Jason Mercer and Alexandru Mergeanu stopped on a section of the M1 near Sheffield that had been converted to a smart motorway. They had been involved in a minor collision and stepped out to exchange details. There was no hard shoulder. A lorry struck their stationary vehicles at speed. The coroner recorded a verdict of unlawful killing and stated that this type of road layout presents an ongoing risk of future deaths. Evidence showed that the radar detection system on that stretch had not been transmitting alerts for 5 days. In March of the same year, Derek Jacobs, 83 years old, was killed on the M1 near Sheffield when his van was hit after a tyre blew out. He had stopped in the inside lane because there was nowhere else to go. Since 2014, 79 people have died on smart motorway sections. Breakdowns on these roads are 3 times more dangerous than on conventional motorways with hard shoulders. The M6 is the deadliest motorway in Britain overall. It now includes smart motorway sections near Birmingham and Manchester where the hard shoulder has been removed. Heavy traffic, driver fatigue, and nowhere to stop when something goes wrong combine in stretches that see collision rates far above the national average. On the M25, the permanent smart motorway section recorded a 2,000% increase in dangerous near misses. In April 2023, the government paused all new smart motorway schemes, but existing conversions remain. Hard shoulders have not been reinstated. Claire Mercer, whose husband Jason died on the M1 that June evening, has spent years campaigning for the restoration of every hard shoulder on every smart motorway in Britain. She did not choose to become a road safety advocate. Grief made that choice for her. These are not old roads where nature laid the traps. These are roads where the traps were engineered, the warnings were filed and ignored, and the people who died were quietly absorbed into statistics. And now we end somewhere nobody expects. The A254 runs from Margate to Ramsgate in East Kent. It is not scenic. It does not climb any mountain. It does not stretch for hundreds of miles. It is roughly 8 kilometers of dual carriageway through a coastal town. Between 2017 and 2019, 31 crashes were recorded on this short stretch, enough for it to be blacklisted as a national hotspot for serious and fatal collisions. 22 junctions in 8 kilometers, pedestrians crossing to reach shops, cyclists sharing space with vehicles moving at speed. Most of the accidents happen where roads meet, at the intersections that interrupt the flow just often enough to catch someone not paying attention. This is the road that makes the argument the previous 14 have been building. Danger is not always dramatic. It is not always a mountain pass in the Lake District or a single track road in the Scottish Highlands. Sometimes it is a short stretch of unremarkable carriageway in a seaside town where somebody steps off the curb at the wrong moment. The most dangerous roads in Britain are not always the ones that look dangerous. Every road in this country has a number attached to it. Some of those numbers are route designations, others are body counts. And don't forget, if you want a proper trip down memory lane, my mate Albert over at Albert's Old Britain has got you covered. Go show him some love.